Guys, be quiet. Alrighty guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Welcome back here to another live stream, my friends. We are going to be going over Hurricane Milton again, which has already just developed in the Gulf of Mexico. And, we are going to be watching this extremely closely, as look how intense this already is, guys. We are talking already a mid-Category 5 hurricane, as that's the latest from the satellite imagery. And so this is definitely going to, be something that we really do need to continue to keep an eye on. And yes, the latest from it does show that it has sustained winds of 180 miles per hour, guys. That is a really, really powerful hurricane right there, as it is going to continue to intensify, and it shows that it could even strengthen up there towards a, even higher Category 5 hurricane, as we could be seeing 185 mile per hour winds sustained, as this will likely continue to intensify, guys. So this is definitely not good news. So that's one of the reasons why we are going to have to keep an eye on this extremely closely. And this has already became the strongest hurricane on record in both the Atlantic Ocean and as well as the Gulf of Mexico. So that's one of the reasons why this is, really going to be something that we really do need to be keeping an eye on. So, unfortunately, this is really looking to be a really strong and powerful hurricane, by the time, it even makes landfall. We're talking pretty much the potential for Category 4 landfall by the time it reaches the St. Petersburg area, which looks to be where the direct impact looks to be. So, unfortunately, we could really be seeing some really, really strong and powerful impacts across parts of Florida, including the Tampa Bay region by the time it makes it up there. Let's see here. When is this stream gonna go down? I don't know, my friend. We are just gonna be live, as this continues to strengthen. It just depends on what's really happening, but I mean, I really want to watch the system intensify, as, this is already really looking like it's gonna be a beast. So, like I said, I'm not sure, my friend, but we will definitely be, live for quite a while, as, this is really intensifying a lot. And so that's exactly why we're going to be live for it. Let's look at the latest from the National Hurricane Center. And the latest from the National Hurricane Center does have, this making landfall as a major hurricane. And we have already seen upgrades to a hurricane warning across all the coast of Florida right there, including the Tampa Bay area. As again, this really does look to be making landfall as a major hurricane. So that's one of the reasons why we are going to be keeping an eye on this very closely, and I can even put the line on there for you guys so that way you guys get a little bit better of an understanding on where exactly this is expected to make landfall. But yeah, I mean, this is really looking to make landfall right near the Tampa Bay area as this continues to move towards Florida. So this is definitely not going to be good news, guys, and so I really do hope you guys are prepared. And the latest on the storm surge has continued to get worse, okay? The storm surge is now expected to be anywhere between 10 to 15 feet, okay? This could be a very similar situation like what we saw with Helene, especially if the system is able to, really stay on the stronger side of things as it reaches the coast of Florida. So, I mean, this is definitely not going to be good news, as this really does look to be making landfall across the Tampa Bay area and maybe even as far down south as Eaglewood. So, that's definitely not good news, like I said, and that's one of the reasons why we are going to be keeping an eye on this extremely closely. So, we will definitely continue to watch this, as this really does look to be a strong and powerful hurricane even when it does make landfall in parts of Florida. Let's also look at the flash flood potential too as well, and the latest from that really does show a pretty high likelihood of flooding. We are talking anywhere from 8 to 12 inches of rainfall in some spots. We're, even talking places like Jacksonville, Florida, potentially seeing over a foot of rain. We're talking even the Tampa Bay area, maybe even seeing an over a foot of rain in some isolated spots. So, I mean, this is just not going to be, your typical flooding or storm surge down here in Florida. As like I said, this really does look to cause some major impacts, if why not some record-breaking landfall, especially across the Tampa Bay area, if it does make landfall there, like it said. And that's one of the reasons why we are going to continue to be keeping an eye on this extremely closely. And the latest on the flooding does make a lot of sense. We are talking a moderate risk for flash flooding anywhere from Jacksonville all the way down there towards Tampa, Orlando, and maybe even as far down south as the Sarasota region. And I would not be surprised to see the rest of Florida covered in this moderate risk, because I do think some areas around that big lake right there could definitely see some pretty big flooding, especially if those winds are really able to blow, the water off of the lake. We could really be talking about some significant flash flooding even across those areas in south central Florida right there. So that's why we are going to really be keeping an eye on it as this continues to get closer. So definitely be aware about that. And if we look at when we can expect there to be flooding, now this doesn't mean we're going to be seeing flooding over the same areas for the next 3 days, but for today, that's when we expect there to be flooding across the southern part of Florida. For tomorrow, kind of a pretty big area that could see some localized flooding, and then day 3 looks to be the most extreme day, as we will likely be seeing landfall Tuesday night and into Wednesday morning, but maybe even as late as Wednesday evening. We're kind of a little bit uncertain on when exactly this will make landfall, but this shows that it will probably make landfall Thursday morning, it looks like. So that's why we are really gonna be keeping an eye on this as this does get closer. And I mean, it could even speed up, because if we also look at the speed of the system, we're gonna go back to see what the speed is of the system right here, and the speed of it, we just gotta look for it. It shows it in a certain area, but it looks like the speed from it is let's see, I'm just trying to find and remember where exactly it is, but it's definitely moving pretty fast as it does continue to move towards the east. And so that's why we are really going to continue to keep an eye on this, as this really does look to be intensifying, and that also really does indicate it will be speeding up too as well. And if it does speed up, this could really well avoid that wind shear and as well as that dry air very quickly, as it does continue to the east. So that's why we are really going to be keeping an eye on this extremely closely as it does get closer to be making landfall. So that's one of the things that we're going to do. And feel free to leave any questions, comments, or concerns that any of you guys have to leave in the chat. It can be about Hurricane Milton, as we are expecting there to be that potential of some really high rainfall and flooding, and maybe even a record-breaking hurricane, depending on if this lasts all the way over there towards Florida. But that's one of the reasons why we are going to be keeping an eye on this very closely, is because this could really be on the stronger side of things as this does continue towards Florida. So definitely be aware about that if you guys do live in Florida. And, we are also, going to be taking a look at a few more things. We can also go ahead and look at those storm surge watches and warnings that are in effect. And yeah, we do have some storm surge warnings currently in effect for areas along the western coast of Florida, including anywhere from, Horseshoe Beach all the way down past Sarasota and all the way down towards, the Florida Keys, perhaps. So this is definitely a pretty big area of where we could really be seeing some major storm surge, and that's why we are really going to be keeping an eye on it as this does continue to get closer. And we even got some storm surge watches for areas as far north as Savannah, Georgia, all the way down here towards, let's see, Millbound in Florida. So that's why we are really going to, be continuing to keep an eye on it, including St. Augustine and Daytona Beach. So those will be the areas to really be keeping an eye on the closest, as this is getting more concerning still. Let's look at satellite imagery again, just to see how much the system is still intensifying. And like I said, this is really crazy, especially if you look at it. We are talking, some really, really high clouds around, and that's what those purple and pink colors right there that you see indicate. So, this is definitely, a really, really organized hurricane, and, this could very well sustained, a lot of, that dust and all that other stuff that this will likely go through. Like I said, there's a lot of dry air all the way over there towards Florida, and there's even some wind shear too as well, and that's what could really cause the system to die down a lot as it does make its way over there. But this is still really intensifying as we look at it. And we can even look at another website, which is Zoom Earth. This also gives us a pretty decent idea on what we can expect. And yeah, it does really show a similar thing. This one even gives a little bit more detail, as as of right now, if we go ahead and select it, it's at 180 miles per hour, and it looks like this could very well strengthen all the way up to 185 miles per hour by the time it does reach that area. So we're talking anywhere from 180 miles per hour all the way up to 185 miles per hour by midnight, because talking right around 1 a.m. is when we can expect this system to really be on the stronger side of things. And that's why we are really going to be keeping an eye on this closely as this continues to move right over the Yucatan. And this could still be strengthening a little bit after it passes those areas, but this still does show it dying down as it does get closer. And like I said, this does show it making category 4 landfall with winds of at least 145 miles per hour. And so that's why we should really be keeping an eye on this. Let's see here. Holiday Inflatable says, should we be scared? I guess you can be scared if you want. For most people it is really scary, but you should be prepared. Okay, we should really be alerting you guys on this system, as like I said, this has already became the worst hurricane to develop here in the Gulf of Mexico, and even the worst hurricane for how strong of hurricanes we saw in the Atlantic Ocean. This is pretty much after Beryl, which turned into a category 5 hurricane. We're talking much stronger than what Beryl got to. But like I said, it's okay if you want to be scared, but you should really be prepared to as well, like I said. And some people even say don't be scared and be prepared. So it depends on what you want to do, Holiday Inflatables. But like I said, you should definitely be be prepared. So make sure to do that before the system really does get closer to your guys' area. So make sure to be aware about that. Latest from satellite imagery really does show this, continuing to get stronger. And I mean, we are actually starting to see more of that moisture really starting to wrap right around the eye. And I mean, like I said, this is just crazy, especially looking at it. So that's, one of the reasons why we still need to be watching this extremely closely. And, this will, more than likely continue to intensify. And I mean, this may even get up to 190 mile per hour winds by the time it reaches areas just north of the Yucatan Peninsula. And that's one of the reasons why we are also concerned about this system. So if you do, live in the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico, you should be prepared for at least a Category 3 hurricane, as this is really bringing some widespread hurricane force winds. So that's one of the reasons why you guys in the Yucatan Peninsula should be on extreme high alert. So make sure to do that if you do live there. Latest from this, still does really show, it really, staying a Category 5 hurricane. So, like I said, we are still continuing to, keep an eye on it closely, as it is still looking to be on the concerning side of things, unfortunately. So, we should definitely still be aware about this, as, it really does look to be on the concerning side of things. We can even go ahead and take a look at some hurricane models, which is something we haven't done yet, but we should definitely take a look at these to see what they really show. And we're going to go ahead and select, we're going to go lower dynamics, and to see how high those winds could be. And I mean, yeah, this does show it exactly what it is right now, which is wind speeds of 180 miles per hour. But this does show it continuing to at least be a low to mid Category 5 hurricane as it continues to the east. And this model is updating, so let's choose a different one so we can kind of see exactly when it's gonna make landfall. But I mean, this one does show it dying down pretty rapidly still, but still does show it at least a decently strong hurricane by the time it gets closer to Florida. And for the Herman model, this model, also shows it decently strong before making landfall in Florida, but still, likely weakening quite a bit by the time it does approach that area in Florida. But I mean, there is a chance this may not weaken a lot. Who knows exactly if this is going to weaken? Because like I said, if all that moisture is wrapped around the eye, and if it makes landfall a little bit farther down to the south, this could very well cause, some huge major issues, and of course be a record-breaking hurricane for Florida, but only if this doesn't end up dying down that much. But like I said, we will definitely keep an eye on it for you, as this is still a very concerning situation. And we can even go ahead and take a look at a few other models too as well, like the HWRF parent model. We haven't looked at this one yet. This one, actually, I'm pretty sure I actually agree a little bit more with this one, not because we expect this to be on the stronger side of things when it hits Florida, but because I do think this will actually be able to handle more of that dry air by the time it approaches Florida. This pretty much shows, a low to mid Category 4 hurricane right there. And like I said, because of how strong and organized it is, I really do think this could definitely last a lot longer, and that's why we are going to be keeping an eye on it. So I do think, this model is a little bit right, about how strong it will be by the time it reaches Florida. And like I said, that's not because I think, that's not because, I think this should, be that strong, but because that's, what we have due to our information. So that's one of the reasons why we are going to be keeping on this closely. Let's see here. Holiday Inflatable says, what radar do you use? I use Attic Radar. It's a free radar site, so you can actually go there right now if you would like. I'm actually thinking about getting Radar Omega. I'm just not sure exactly when I'm going to get it yet. But, Radar Omega is also a good one, too. And I'll probably get that, as, my channel continues to get better. So, it really just depends. I'll just have to see. But, like I said, as of right now, I am using Attic Radar. So feel free to go to that website and, look at all this stuff. So That's definitely a pretty good question right there, my friend. And yeah, absolutely. Um, and let's look at just a few more hurricane models, including the GFS model. GFS model is also doing a little bit better on hurricanes, and that one's still updating too as well. So we might need to look at a different one like the European model. Let's see how the European model is doing. Let's see. We're gonna select Milton, and yeah, the European model is already updated. So let's see on what this shows. This shows it doesn't really show it as strong as what the all other models are showing it, and I mean this one is just off the charts for how weak this is showing it. This only shows that's 970 millibars, but that is not right. This is more of 909 millibars, as this is what it shows on Zoom Earth. And yeah, as you guys can see, 905 millibars right there, and this one is only showing at 970 millibars. And I mean, the European model does okay with forecasting hurricanes, but it doesn't really do a great job for the intensity, the track of it, or any of that stuff. But it does at least give us a good idea that there could be a hurricane, and that's really what we use the European model for in most cases. But other than that, not really the best one. And let's take a look at a few more things to see the latest on Milton. It looks like it's a little bit slow right now, but yeah, Milton still continuing to strengthen, like I said. Let's also look at the latest on the models, to where exactly we expect this to track, and most models do show this making landfall right over the Tampa Bay area. So you guys in Tampa Bay need to be getting prepared right now, as I'm pretty sure it's almost a guarantee by this point that this will be making landfall somewhere around the Tampa Bay area. So definitely get ready for that, guys, if you guys do live in Tampa Bay, because like I said, I really do think this will at least indeed make landfall right around that area. And yeah, the latest from this even does show it making landfall across that area. And with this satellite, this does show a little bit of a whole eye poking out right there, but it's not really poking out that much, and it's also not a very big eye either. You can realize it when you're zoom out, but when you zoom in though, it kind of looks a little puffy right there, just indicating that's not really a great organized eye, but it's trying to clear out and make it dry, which is usually how most eyes of hurricanes are, is where it dries everything out, and the eye is almost completely dry besides those hurricane force winds. So that's usually what's most common with these hurricanes. But unfortunately, like I said, this really does look to become a pretty powerful and strong hurricane by this point, and that's why we are still really keeping an eye on this. We can also, go ahead and, take a look at a few other things. We can also look at, the arrival time of those tropical storm force winds. And yeah, I mean, this could definitely, like I said, it still does remain a little bit uncertain on when exactly this will make landfall. But I think, it could make landfall as early as Wednesday morning or as late as Wednesday night and into Thursday morning. Just somewhere, during the day on Wednesday is when we expect this to really be making landfall. And that's why we are really going to continue to be keeping an eye on it, as like I said, this really does look to be a concerning thing for the Tampa Bay area. So we're going to continue to keep an eye on it, like I said, as it really does continue to get on the stronger side of things. And even for those chances of tropical storm force winds, we are now up to a 90% chance of tropical storm force winds across the Tampa Bay area. Maybe even a 100% chance of that happening too, as well, as this does continue to head towards the east. The chance of hurricane force winds has continued increasing. We're talking, a 50 to a 60% chance of hurricane force winds along those coastal areas, as it does continue towards the east, like I said. So That's one of the reasons why we are going to really continue to be keeping an eye on this extremely closely. And so, we are definitely needing to, be watching this as it does continue to the east, like I said. And I mean, obviously, as it does get closer, to Florida, this will, more than likely, continue to upgrade to maybe even a 100% chance of hurricane force winds as it does get closer to Florida. And the wind history from it, we can kind of see exactly which areas have seen those winds, but we are starting to see those tropical storm force winds and even those hurricane force winds occur across the Yucatan Peninsula, Mexico. And that's something that we still really do need to be keeping an eye on. And I mean, even though it's a category 5 hurricane, the wind field isn't very big. Okay, this is really small compared to Helene. Helene has a much bigger wind field with it. But now, we are talking a really, really small tropical storm and, of course, a hurricane wind field, as this does continue. So, I mean, like I said, even though it's, really strong, it's not that big of a hurricane compared to Helene. Helene was much bigger, and that's one of the historic things about it. But, this one is, could be historic due to how intense it could be. And I mean, it is starting to clear out a little bit more from what I can tell. So, I mean, this definitely could start getting more and more concerning as we continue to watch it extremely closely. And not only that, we are really seeing a very concerning satellite view still, as it is still really looking to be a concerning situation. Looks like my computer is a little bit slow, so just wait a second. There we go. And I mean, yeah, the latest from satellite. I'm just gonna go ahead and pause it so I can show you. But the latest from satellite actually shows that moisture continuing to wrap around the eye, because when we checked about a minute ago, most of that was up here, but now we're talking moisture all around the eye. And we can even tell that it's already starting to clear out a little bit, and I can even zoom into as well, and yeah, we can kind of see that it is starting to dry out a little bit. Still a little bit wet though, as a little bit of that red and green color showing up, indicating some light and moderate rain still falling in the eye. But I mean, you can kind of see that it is really starting, to dry out across those areas. And so that's one of the reasons why we are really concerned about, this hurricane right here, is because, it's already starting to wrap around the full eye right there. And, we are even starting to see, some of that moisture clear out of the eye. And I mean, this could definitely continue to organize even, as it continues to move over the Yucatan Peninsula. I mean, that eye will not be there, but we could still see some hurricane force winds across the Yucatan Peninsula. And so that's why there are hurricane warnings currently in effect for those areas. But the eye will not be directly over that, and that's why this could still be intensifying right around the eye. And I don't know if you guys knew this, but usually those waters are much warmer next to land, and I can actually show you guys that as we do watch this. But like I said, those waters are usually much warmer closer to land than they are in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. And that's mainly due to a lot of things, but here's what it shows. And I apologize for my computer getting a little bit slow, and oh my goodness, you gotta be kidding me right now. If you're wondering what that means that a lot of people are on this website, and we can't really take a look at it. Gosh dang it, I mean, that sucks. I wish I could get on there. Let's see if we can pull that up again. Yeah, I know, guys. I'm pulling up tropical tidbits, but it says 200 or 500 to bag getaway, which indicates that a lot of people are on it right now. So I can't pull up tropical tidbits, unfortunately, because so many people are using it across Florida. I just can't get on there, and even those other people during live streams can't get on it either, unfortunately. So we're just gonna have to use on what we have right now. But like I said, that eye is definitely starting to clear out a little bit more, and it, is really starting to strengthen quite a bit, and will more than likely strengthen as it does reach, that area. And so, we could be talking as low as 900 millibars by the time it does reach that area. And so that's why we are going to continue to watch this extremely closely. So, now, like I said, feel free to leave any questions, comments, or concerns that you guys have in the chat. We will continue to be live for maybe another hour or two, just, watching this system really intensify quite a bit. So, I'm really hoping you guys are prepared, like I said, and, we might even be tracking some thunderstorms already ongoing across, parts of Florida too as well. None of them are going to be severe warned, and we don't even have a risk for severe weather today, and that's why I did take those alerts off. So, my stream will definitely look a little bit different due to those alerts being off, but you guys, will still need to, be paying attention, as, we are already starting to see a little bit of these storms already coming onto shore, but none of them will be severe. Something else we can take a look at is the Storm Prediction Center, threat for severe storms these next few days. Starting off with day 2, that will be our first risk for severe weather during Hurricane Milton, as there is already a slight risk for severe weather across parts of Florida right there, as you guys can see, which heads anywhere from Tampa all the way down there towards, parts of Miami, and of course Fort Myers too as well. So that's, one of the reasons why we are going to continue to keep an eye on this extremely closely. With that risk for a few tornadoes across Florida, no, hail threat, but we do have a risk for some damaging winds right there, as you guys can see, as some of these storms could definitely be severe tomorrow, but like I said, not expected to be severe today though. Let's see here. Amber says, good job on covering this hurricane, praying for all of these in its path. It looks like Florida has mandatory evacuations for some of the coastal areas in this pass. I know, I've been checking a lot of those, out, before this stream, and I mean, yeah, there is already a lot of evacuations ongoing across parts of Florida, and yeah, I am also praying that, people across Florida really do know what to do and how to get prepared, because I mean, it was crazy how many fatalities we had with Helene. We had over 200 fatalities from Helene, and we do not want it to go that way with Hurricane Milton, and that's why every meteorologist is trying to, really tell people about what to do, so that way, you guys really know what to do. And I mean, if there's anyone on this stream that, lives in Florida, please get prepared right now. I mean, I don't want to, are you guys, about, that you must get prepared, but I mean, you must get prepared regardless of this. And so please get prepared, by, packing up food supplies, gain all the stuff done that needs to be done, like, chores and things like that, because, I mean, you just can't really do those, during a hurricane. So things like that are great to do before a hurricane, but, also fill up with water, pack an emergency kit, make sure your insurance is ready, and, best thing to do, after all that is evacuate, okay? We're talking, some potentially, historic storm surge too as well, so regardless of where you are, we could really be seeing, some really high storm surge across, a lot of the Florida coast areas, including the east coast of Florida, which would be on the other side. But, we could really, like I said, we could really be seeing, some storm surge on both sides of the coast of Florida. So, like I said, regardless of what coast you're on, you should definitely evacuate, because this is definitely not going to be your typical hurricane right here. And so best to do, like I said, is just evacuate and pack everything that you need to do that, as this really does look to become a concerning hurricane, like I said. Back to the radar again, we are still watching this very closely, as it does still continue to intensify, like I said. We are, still watching, for how strong Milton could get, and I'm gonna go ahead, and refresh this. to see, you know, the latest from the National Hurricane Center, because I think they are getting ready to do, you know, another update pretty soon. But yeah, most things are still about the same. But yeah, National Hurricane Center will definitely continue to do, you know, a couple more updates as this continues to head towards the east. And like I said, already got quite a bit of hurricane warnings currently in effect for quite a bit there of the Florida coast, and you know, we even got, you know, some hurricane watches already in effect for areas along the east coast of Florida too as well. And so that's one of the reasons why we are going to continue to keep an eye on this. I mean, it could even be a major hurricane by the time, you know, it passes Florida. It will, you know, continue to weaken, but it could still remain a low in category 3 hurricane as it gets to the east coast of Florida. So like I said, regardless of you know what coast you're on, you should still be prepared, whether you live on the east coast of Florida or the west coast of Florida. Especially, you guys should really be getting prepared for this system, as you know, major hurricane landfall on both sides of Florida will be extremely likely, especially if this system, you know, continues to intensify, which, like I said, it really is. And I mean, this is concerning me, you know, every minute, as like I said, this could very well get up to 185-mile-per-hour winds sustained as it does continue. So, you know, like I said, this is definitely, you know, extremely concerning, and that's why we are gonna, you know, really continue to be keeping an eye on it extremely closely. And so, you know, we will definitely need to be watching this as this does continue, like I said. And, you know, not only that, you know, we also, you know, need to, you know, be watching these other parts of the tropics too as well. We're going to go back to Attic radar. I also want to, you know, let you guys know that we also have some more areas of development we are also keeping an eye on too as well, as you guys can see, including, you know, some area of potential development right there across those islands, including Santa Maria, there in Cape Verde, right there near the Africa coast. This is where, you know, we could see some development, but this isn't going to impact any land though. You know, we may see some showers and thunderstorms over that land, but this won't even be a tropical depression by the time this does head off the Africa coast. But, you know, we will still be watching this extremely closely just in case it does impact some of those islands. You know, this one over here though looks to, you know, be dying down, and none of that land is even in the way either, so we're not really, you know, super concerned about that area either. But you know, we will still continue to, you know, watch Leslie out there too as well. I mean, you know, we even got another area out here towards the eastern Pacific to watch for some development as it does continue, but I don't think that one's going to be at least a concern these next few days, but we will keep an eye on it just in case, like I said, as this does continue. And it looks like it's going to head towards the northeast, unfortunately, so it could definitely impact some areas there in Mexico. So we'll be keeping an eye on that one. But as of right now, we're just focusing on Milton. As I said, this really does look to be making landfall right over the Tampa Bay area. So we are still going to continue to keep an eye on this. And like I said, feel free to leave any questions, comments, or concerns that you guys have in the chat. We will continue to be live for some more time, as you know, the system is still, you know, trying to intensify. So we, you know, will continue to watch this closely. If it, you know, stops intensifying, we may end the stream. But you know, it just depends on what's happening, and if it does continue to intensify, we will still be live. But you know, we will, you know, still continue to watch this closely. Something else we can, you know, pull up is the National Weather Service website. This, you know, is where we can look at those warnings that are already in effect. And, you know, this is, you know, the best time to answer and ask any questions that you guys have in the chat, because I, you know, can do local forecasts if you guys would like. So feel free to leave any of that down below in the chat, and, you know, we will definitely continue to, you know, keep you guys safe, as this does still look to be a concern. So like I said, there's time to leave, you know, any of your guys' local forecasts or zip codes in the chat that you guys have, and I will definitely answer them for you. But let's go ahead and select the National Weather Service in Tampa to see what they say about this, just so that we can, at least get a little bit of an idea. And yeah, I mean, this National Weather Service sure is talking about it, and you guys in Tampa can even look at this if you want, just to get a good idea about what could happen. But if we select Tampa, like I said, tropical storm conditions are possible, but hurricane conditions will also be very likely Wednesday night, and maybe even continuing into Thursday. So that's why we are going to be continuing to watch this extremely closely, as this does, continue to get close to making landfall. So that's why we are going to watch this closely, as this does continue to move towards Florida. But, like I said, this one also really does show it, making some pretty good impacts by the time it does reach that coast. And I will be right back. I just need to go get a drink real quick. Alright, I'm finally back now. Like I said, we are still watching this closely for that potential right there. And like I said, feel free to leave anything in the chat, including local forecasts, if you guys have any of that to leave in the chat. So feel free to leave any of that down below. Including, if you live on one of these islands in the Caribbean, I can also do some forecast is there too as well. But something else that we also need to watch for is the system potentially making landfall once again across parts of Bermuda, as this could still be a tropical storm as it does get close to Bermuda. So that's one of the reasons why we are going to continue to watch this closely, as this could very well strengthen again and turn back into a tropical storm after it passes Florida, and could definitely cause some impacts to the island of Bermuda right there, as you guys can see. So that's one of the reasons why we will also continue to watch this closely. We are also a little bit concerned, about, the rainfall potential. Like I said, we're going to go ahead and show you guys that again, just so you guys can get a good idea on which areas will see the worst flooding. And the areas are likely going to see the highest rainfall totals would be areas between Tampa Bay all the way up there towards Jacksonville in Florida. So, we will definitely continue to watch this very closely as it does, continue to move towards Florida. So, we will definitely continue to watch this, we could definitely even, see an upgrade in flash flooding too as well. Like I said, it is a moderate risk too as well, and I wouldn't be surprised to see both of these connect. But we could definitely also see an upgrade to a high risk for flash flooding, especially if this system really does bring some heavier rainfall totals to parts of Florida. So that's something to also watch closely for too as well, especially as this system still does continue to make it towards Florida. And we could also even be seeing some pretty big warnings get issued to as well, because not only do we have tropical storm warnings and hurricane warnings in effect for these areas around Florida, but we also have some of these in effect for South Carolina, Georgia, back down there towards places like Miami. Those areas are under tropical storm watches, so that's why we are going to watch this closely, like I said. So that's something to definitely keep an eye on, and of course be aware about, as this does get closer to making landfall in Florida. And so yeah, we are definitely gonna continue to watch it. And like I said, if you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, leave in the chat. Feel free to do that. Let's see if we can look at that satellite imagery again, because I liked looking at it, but I'm just surprised it did that. Let's see if this is going to go. Okay, thankfully. Okay, I'm so glad it pulled right back up. I was afraid it wasn't going to pull up again, but I'm at least glad we're able to see that satellite image again. And yes, as you guys can see, let's see. This is, continuing to intensify even more as we are still starting to see that moisture wrap around, like I said. So that's, one of the reasons why we are going to continue to watch this extremely closely as it does get closer to Florida. And I do need to blow my nose, so I will be right back. But yeah, I will definitely zoom in so that way you guys can get a decent view at it. But yeah, it really is looking concerning. All right. I apologize for that, guys. I just need to blow my nose badly, so I just wanted to quickly go ahead and do that. But like I said, really starting to clear out in the middle of it, especially. But still, trying to get that moisture wrapped around the eye right there, as you guys can see, just indicating that this thing is still trying to get more organized. As it does continue to have a lot of that moisture starting to wrap around more of it. So that's one of the reasons why we are going to continue to watch this extremely closely, is because it is still really looking to get quite organized right there. So we'll definitely continue to watch it. And like I said, feel free to leave any questions, comments, or concerns in the chat, including some local forecasts. I just, really want to keep you guys safe from this hurricane, as it really does, look to potentially be a Category 4 hurricane by the time, it does make landfall in Florida. And I mean, this is just giving me headaches. I hope it, isn't as bad, but, this is still going to really be a big problem regardless of if it's that strong of a hurricane or not, because Tampa Bay does flood easily, guys, which would not be good news. If we look at that storm surge forecast again, like I said, it's just giving you guys a good idea on what we could see. This is still expected to be anywhere from 10 to 15 feet of storm surge across the Tampa Bay area. But even as far down south as Eaglewood, like I said, in Florida, we could really still be seeing, some huge storm surge across those areas. And that's why we are going to continue to watch this extremely closely for the 7 feet, across, places like Flamingo down there in Florida. Let's see, I'm trying to figure out how you pronounce that, but I think that's Bonita Beach. I think that's how you say that. And then we also, got some pretty big storm surge right there for the Florida Keys too as well. Those are the areas that could still get quite a bit of storm surge, as it does continue towards the east, like I said. So we are gonna, continue to watch this extremely closely, as it still looks to continue to at least rapidly intensify. And it's still getting close there to let's see if the pressure has even dropped, and to get a good idea of that, we can actually go back to the National Hurricane Center website, where we're actually gonna go and refresh it. In Milton, still shows that it has winds of 180 miles per hour, so it hasn't weakened or strengthened yet, but this will more than likely continue to strengthen, like I said, and still does show minimal pressure of around 905 millibars. So that's why we are going to continue to keep an eye on this, like I said. And we still even have a chance of development over here near the African coast, like I said. That's something that we are a little bit concerned about due to those islands, but like I said, not really looking to really be bringing much than some some showers and thunderstorms to those areas. And, we also are watching this area coming off of Florida too as well. Probably won't really develop, may still bring a little bit of a shower and thunderstorm threat, but not really looking to be anything too serious. So, we will continue to watch it closely, like I said, as this, still continues to at least look on the concerning side of things. And, I was really expecting the system, to really rapidly intensify, but it might even be slowing down a little bit, and we've been live for almost an hour already too as well. And like I said, I didn't really know exactly how long I was going to be live for, but it's also getting a little bit late too as well, so I think we're going to be live for maybe another 20 minutes or so. So we will definitely continue to still be watching this closely. Like I said, I didn't know exactly how long I was going to be live for, but we will at least be live until the system starts to slow down a little bit more. So like I said, I'll probably be just another 20 minutes or so. But let's look at the latest from satellite imagery again. And yeah, I mean, we are still continuing to see that moisture wrap around the eye even more. So like I said, that is definitely still looking to be pretty organized right there, as it will more than likely continue to do that. So that's why we are gonna, still continue to watch this closely. So you guys, right here in the Yucatan, like I said, still need to, really be watching this closely. I mean, none of the eye part is gonna be on there, so that's why this could still intensify as it does, move right over those areas. But, still gotta be something to watch closely for, as it will continue to do that. And like I said, probably will make landfall as at least a category 4 hurricane. So that's why we are gonna continue to keep an eye on this closely, as it could definitely make landfall as a category 4 hurricane, like I said. So we are still gonna be keeping an eye on it closely. Let's see, I think the National Hurricane Center is going to be coming out in about 10 minutes. They do an update every hour, so, we'll definitely check that before we end our live stream. But we can also go ahead and take a look at the latest from the Storm Prediction Center too as well, to see what they said. And like I said, still around for a slight risk for severe weather by the time we head into Wednesday of this week. And they haven't issued the hazards yet, but they are still to that point where we really do expect there to be at least a decent threat for a couple of tornadoes. So that's why we are going to continue to watch this closely, as it will more than likely continue to do that. And not only that, we are also concerned about some of these other storms down there. Like I said, these ones probably won't be severe, but they will still have that potential to produce some gusty winds, some lightning, and maybe some other hazards than just that. But probably not really going to be a giant concern as of right now, as these all look to mostly be on the weaker side of things. And we are still watching closely to see if the system does rapidly intensify. And we're gonna go ahead and pull up Zoom Earth again, and I just like to refresh a lot of these just in case they did an update or something. But yeah, still does show the same thing. We can even go ahead and look at that precipitation to see exactly how heavy the rain is. And the latest from satellite is showing that the rain is, some areas are almost seeing an inch and a half per hour. Okay, that's some very, very heavy rain right there. An inch and a half per hour will definitely cause a ton of flooding. So that's definitely not good news right there for you guys in Florida, as like I said, 1.5 inches at the max per hour is definitely enough to really cause some pretty big flooding. So that's something we're gonna have to watch closely for, as this does continue to move towards the east and northeast. So that's something else to keep an eye on too. And we can even check that wind. And yeah, I mean, like I said, that wind is also pretty strong too as well. and we can even select wind gusts, and I mean wind gusts are super powerful too, but especially that wind speed where we do have sustained winds of, like I said, more than likely around 180 miles per hour at the max in some areas. So that's why we are gonna be continuing to watch that closely. And same goes with gusts, as we already got some very high wind gusts of some areas seeing over 200-mile-per-hour wind gusts. So that's gonna continue to be something to keep an eye on, as it does still look to be something concerning. Not only that, we could we can even see that pressure too, and I mean yeah, pressure has definitely been dropping as well, as it does also continue. We got some pretty big high pressure system up here to the north, and that's exactly why we are drier up here to the north than we are down there towards Florida. So most of the United States is actually staying really dry due to that, but, we are still, likely going to be wet down here in Florida, even though most of the United States is seeing that drier weather around. And, not only that, we can even, look at the National Hurricane Center again. Let's see what they say. And it doesn't look like they updated yet, but like I said, it's going to be coming out pretty soon, so that's why we're going to continue to watch that closely as it does continue. And we can even go ahead and look at Leslie too as well. Leslie, really looks to, like I said, Leslie isn't gonna be impacting any land, but will still be, at least a hurricane as it does continue towards the northwest, but not gonna impact any land, like I said, and it's pretty much gonna make that turn towards the north, so not gonna impact any land, like I said, but we will still be keeping an eye on it just in case, as it does still continue to do that. So we will definitely still continue, and I think we talked about most of what we wanted to in this live stream, my friends. Like I said, if you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns down in the chat, feel free to leave that. Like I said, we will quickly look at the National Hurricane Center before we end this live stream, but I think we'll end it in just a couple of minutes or so, due to how much the system has slowed down, because it really used to rapidly intensify. It's not intensifying as much, but it's still staying just as strong as it has, and it's still trying to organize. And even though it's trying to organize, it doesn't mean it's getting stronger. It just means it's trying to wrap around the eye part of it. So like I said, we are going to continue to watch this closely, and I mean, it still might maybe rapidly intensifying these next few days before it makes landfall, but regardless of that, we're gonna end our live stream pretty soon, so we will definitely do that. And let's see if the National Hurricane Center has updated yet. Let's go ahead and check that out if they have. Let's see. And even though it says the 4 p.m. in Barry, doesn't mean they haven't done an update yet. Let's see if anything has changed yet. Doesn't look like yet, so we're still gonna continue to wait just a few more minutes to see if anything does change, but this is what it's looking like as of right now, and so we're just gonna continue to look at satellite imagery. Like I said, still continuing to, wrap around that eye part of it, unfortunately, like I said, and let's see, it's pretty slow. I'm afraid it's gonna kick me out again. I didn't like how it did that earlier, but it's really slow, like I said. Okay, I'm glad it didn't kick me out again, but I'm just trying to refresh that satellite imagery just to see if anything has changed with that either. Oh man, dang it! Kicked me out again. Let's see if it works again. I'm gonna try one more time. Dang it! So, I think we're gonna stop with tropical tidbits, especially because it keeps kicking me out, and it's also doing all that weird stuff. But we will still continue to watch this very closely, and I think the National Hurricane Center is just getting ready to come out with its new update. And yeah, it says National Weather Service in Miami, Florida at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. It's almost 7 p.m. Central Time. So like I said, it should be doing an update in just a second. And it probably already did update, especially if it says that. But let's see what they did, especially if they just did an update. And if they did do an update, nothing much has changed yet. So that's definitely good news right there, because things very well could have gotten worse, but thankfully it's not the worst just yet. But we will still watch it closely. Let's check on Zoom Earth to see if anything has changed there due to the National Hurricane Center changing. And yeah, nothing much has changed there either. We're gonna go ahead and refresh both of these and check one more time, like I said, and then we're gonna end our live stream in just a minute. We're just gonna wait a few minutes for the National Hurricane Center to get in, and then we'll end our live stream right there. Which like I said, I didn't know how long exactly I was gonna be live for earlier, but if the system is slowing down, which does look like it is a little bit, that's about when we're ending. So but let's look at the National Hurricane Center one more time. That update should just be out by now. And like I said, if it did just come out, it's still showing about the same thing still. So nothing too much has changed, but we'll still continue to watch it closely still, as it does still continue to look on the concerning side of things. But looks like the National Hurricane Center has just updated. And like I said, nothing has changed yet. But thank you guys very much for watching my live stream. I hope you guys did enjoy today's weather live stream. If you guys want to continue to stay tuned for more weather updates, make sure to go down below and click that subscribe button. We will do another live stream tomorrow, so make sure to stay tuned for that. But also make sure to click that notification bell down below too as well, so that way you are notified whenever I do go live. And of course, make sure to leave any thumbs up too as well, and make sure to leave any questions, comments, or concerns about Milton, or just anything you want, as long as it's respectful, and feel free to leave any of that down below. But I hope you guys all have